First contact and humiliation. The quantum drive hummed beneath Captain Isabella Ray's feet as the ESS Horizon dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Procyon system. Humanity's first venture beyond Sol had taken years of preparation, countless resources, and humanity's best minds working in concert. What they hadn't prepared for was being laughed at. "Captain, we're detecting an artificial structure ahead," Lieutenant Patil announced from his station, his dark eyes fixed on the holographic display. "It's massive. Initial readings suggest it's roughly the size of Luna." Isabella straightened her uniform, trying to quell the flutter of excitement in her stomach. First contact. This was the moment humanity had dreamed of for centuries. "Open all standard greeting frequencies," she ordered, her voice steady despite her racing heart. The response came not in radio waves or light signals, but in the form of a ship that seemed to materialize from nowhere. It dwarfed the horizon like a whale next to a minnow, its crystalline surface refracting starlight in mesmerizing patterns. The first transmission they received was not what anyone had expected. It was laughter. Oh, how absolutely precious. The alien voice boomed through their speakers, translated in real time by their AI systems. "Commander Vitrix, you must come see this. They're tiny." Isabella felt her face flush as multiple alien faces appeared on their main view screen. The beings, which they would later learn were called Valorians, were crystalline giants, their faceted features expressing what could only be described as patronizing amusement. "Welcome, little ones," the first voice continued, belonging to a Valorian whose crystalline form shimmered with iridescent blues. "I am Trade Overseer Zixtal. We had detected your quantum signature, but, well, we expected something a bit more substantial." Over the next several hours, Isabella and her crew learned the harsh truth about their place in the galaxy. They weren't just small, they were microscopic by galactic standards. The Valorians, one of the dominant species in this sector, averaged around 50 meters in height. Other species ranged from 20 to several hundred meters tall, with some planetary entities spanning entire continents. The humiliation didn't end with first contact. As news of humanity spread through the galactic community, they became something of a curiosity. A civilization of adorable miniatures who had somehow achieved spaceflight. The Valorians insisted on providing them with appropriate accommodation, a patronizing gesture that involved converting a small maintenance module into a human-sized diplomatic quarter. "This is unacceptable," Isabella argued during a meeting with her senior staff in their new quarters. "They're treating us like children at best, pets at worst. We've achieved faster-than-light travel, solved quantum gravity, and yet they dismiss our entire species because of our size." Commander James Rodriguez, her tactical officer, leaned forward. "They're underestimating us, Captain. And historically, that's always been humanity's greatest advantage." He was right. Throughout human history, being underestimated had often preceded some of their greatest achievements. The Valorians and their allies saw them as cute, harmless, and insignificant. They didn't bother to encrypt their communications around humans, didn't guard their technology, didn't consider them a threat or even worthy of serious consideration. Their first major breakthrough came when Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka, the ship's chief scientist, discovered something fascinating about Valorian technology. "Their quantum systems are incredibly advanced," he explained, pointing to his findings, "but they're also incredibly wasteful. They never needed to miniaturize anything. Their entire technological development followed a completely different path than ours." Isabella saw the opportunity immediately. While the Valorians displayed their power through size and grandeur, humanity had spent centuries learning to do more with less. Their technology might be more advanced, but it was also inefficient, oversized, and in many ways, primitive compared to Earth's elegant miniaturization. "Begin documentation of everything," Isabella ordered. "Every piece of technology, every casual conversation, every dismissive gesture. We're not just going to prove ourselves their equals. We're going to show them that size isn't everything. As the ESS Horizon continued its diplomatic mission, Isabella's crew worked tirelessly behind the scenes. They were gathering data, analyzing weaknesses, and planning for a future where humanity would demand respect, not pity. The Valorians and their allies had made a critical mistake. They had confused physical size with capability, strength with power, and most importantly, they had forgotten that throughout history, it was often the smallest organisms that changed the world the most. The seeds of revolution were being planted, and no one in the galaxy suspected a thing. After all, what harm could such tiny creatures possibly do? The Silent Revolution. Admiral Yuki Nakamura stood at the window of her office in the United Earth Defense Command, watching shuttles zip between the towering spires of New Singapore. 5 years had passed since the ESS Horizon's fateful first contact, and humanity had learned to play its role perfectly. Too perfectly, perhaps. The Valorians have approved our request for additional living space in the Galactic Trade Hub, her aide, Lieutenant Colonel Raj Malhotra, reported. They found our petition, and I quote, admirably formal. Yuki's reflection showed no emotion, but her fingers tightened imperceptibly on the datapad she held. And our real construction. Proceeding ahead of schedule, Project Prometheus is at 87% completion. The quantum compression field tests exceeded all expectations. Deep beneath the surface of Mars, in facilities deliberately built to human scale to discourage alien interest, humanity's greatest minds have been working on a revolution. Not with weapons or ships, but with something far more fundamental. Space itself. The quantum compression technology they were developing wasn't just about making things smaller or larger. It was about redefining the relationship between mass, energy, and spatial dimensions. The aliens' dismissive attitude had given humanity unprecedented access to their technology, and humans had done what they did best: innovate, adapt, and improve. Commander Rias's latest report from the Valorian homeworld. Yuki asked, referring to the now-promoted First Contact Captain, who had become humanity's chief diplomatic officer. Raj activated a holographic display. She's confirmed our suspicions. The Valorians and their allies have no concept of viral warfare, no experience with guerrilla tactics, and their cybersecurity is primitive. They never needed to develop these things. When you're the size of a skyscraper, you don't worry about smaller threats. That had been the key discovery that changed everything. The giant species of the galaxy had evolved in environments where their size was an advantage, not a limitation. They had never faced the constant pressures that had shaped humanity. The need to adapt, to overcome, to find ways around problems they couldn't muscle through. In a secure facility beneath the Martian surface, Dr. Tanaka, now head of the Prometheus project, made the final adjustments to the prototype. The device looked deceptively simple, a sleek black cylinder barely larger than a human hand. But within it lay the culmination of human ingenuity and alien arrogance combined. Initial field test beginning, he announced to the observation room. The cylinder activated with a subtle hum. In the chamber beyond the reinforced windows, a standard shipping container began to shimmer and then, impossibly, shrank to the size of a matchbox. Moments later, it returned to its original size, completely unchanged. The implications were staggering. Humanity could now manipulate spatial dimensions at will, effectively matching any size they needed. But that was just the beginning. Back in New Singapore, Admiral Nakamura received the test results with grim satisfaction. Begin Phase 2, she ordered. And contact Director Hassan at Intelligence. It's time to put our other advantages to use. The Galactic Intelligence Division, headed by former cybersecurity expert Farida Hassan, had spent years analyzing alien communications, technology, and weaknesses. They had discovered that while alien quantum computers were incredibly powerful, they were also surprisingly vulnerable to certain types of attacks that would never have occurred to beings their size. Their entire network architecture is based on brute force processing, Farida explained during a secure briefing. They never developed the elegant encryption algorithms we use because they never needed to hide. Their data packets are the size of our buildings. They thought that alone made them secure. Humanity's plan wasn't just about matching the alien size. It was about proving that size wasn't what mattered. Teams of human engineers had developed microscopic quantum processors that could outperform alien computers 1,000 times their size. Special forces had trained in using the new compression technology, preparing for operations that would have seemed impossible years ago. The first real test came when a Valorian mining corporation attempted to seize an asteroid colony in the Beta Hydra system, claiming the humans there were inefficiently using space. The corporation's executives never understood why their systems suddenly failed, their ships lost power, or their communications went dark. They couldn't comprehend how their supposedly inferior human neighbors had defeated them without firing a shot. The beauty of it, Raj noted during a debriefing, is that they still don't see us as a threat. Every failure is attributed to technical problems, natural phenomena, or simple bad luck. Their size blinds them to the possibility that we could be responsible. Admiral Nakamura nodded, but her expression remained serious. We're walking a dangerous line. The moment they realize what we're capable of, everything changes. Maybe that's exactly what needs to happen, a new voice said. Isabella Reyes had entered the room silently, a skill she'd perfected among aliens who rarely noticed her presence. I've spent 5 years smiling and nodding while being patronized by beings who think their size makes them superior. Maybe it's time we showed them exactly what humanity can do. The Admiral studied the holographic display, showing humanity's hidden achievements. Quantum compression technology, microscale AI systems that could infiltrate and control alien networks, weapons that could target vulnerabilities no giant had ever thought to protect against. They had built it all while playing the role of the galaxy's pets, its adorable little cousins who needed protection and guidance. Not yet, Nakamura decided. We need one more piece in place, something that will make our position completely secure when we finally reveal ourselves. She turned to Dr. Tanaka, who had joined them via quantum hologram. How close are we to cracking their FTL limitations? The scientist smiled. We've already done it. Their drives are like sledgehammers compared to what we've developed. They punch through space. We slit between the cracks they never even knew existed. The pieces were falling into place. Humanity's revolution wouldn't be fought with giant ships or powerful weapons. It would be won with the things that had always made humans formidable: intelligence, adaptability, and the absolute refusal to accept limitations imposed by others. The giants of the galaxy had no idea what was coming, and that was exactly how humanity wanted it. The Nexus Crisis. The Galactic Trade Nexus was a marvel of engineering, a space station the size of Earth's moon, where thousands of species conducted commerce and diplomacy. In the human sector, barely larger than a typical Earth shopping mall, Director Farida Hassan watched her plans unfold through augmented reality contacts. Quantum infiltration units in position, her assistant whispered through a subvocal link. The Valorians just dismissed them as space debris. Farida allowed herself a small smile. The microscopic quantum computers her team had deployed throughout the station were about to change the galaxy forever. But first, they needed proof, irrefutable evidence of what they'd suspected for years. The crisis began not with a bang, but with a flicker. Throughout the massive station, holographic displays stuttered. Environmental systems hiccuped. Trading algorithms faltered. Minor inconveniences that would have been ignored, except they kept happening, growing more frequent, more disruptive. The Arcturian delegation demands answers. A Valorian administrator thundered, his crystalline form pulsing with angry red light. Their quantum-locked vault lost containment for 3 microseconds. In the human sector, Farida's team monitored everything. Their quantum infiltrators had found what they were looking for, proof of a massive conspiracy against emerging species. The station's secure databases held evidence of systematic suppression, not just of humans, but of any species deemed too small or inefficient. Send the package to Admiral Nakamura, Farida ordered. It's time for Phase 3. On Mars, Admiral Nakamura reviewed the data with her senior staff. The evidence was damning. The Valorians and their allies had been deliberately stifling technological advancement of smaller species, maintaining their dominance through size and intimidation. The Nexus's systems are completely compromised, Raj reported. We can shut down their operations at any time. Not yet, Nakamura cautioned. Let them feel the pressure first. Let them understand that their size means nothing against an enemy they can't see. The station's problems escalated. Critical systems began failing in patterns that seemed random but were precisely calculated. Trade negotiations collapsed as communication systems garbled transmissions. Environmental controls went haywire, forcing evacuations of entire sectors. The Valorian High Command finally called an emergency session. Their massive forms crowded the central chamber, their crystalline bodies reflecting chaos as they argued about the cause of the disruptions. They never noticed the human observation team watching through quantum-shifted spy drones the size of dust particles. Their arrogance is almost impressive, Commander Isabella Reyes noted from her position in the human sector. They're blaming solar flares, quantum fluctuations, everything except the possibility that someone might have outsmarted them. The breaking point came when the station's main quantum computer core crashed. Decades of secure trading data, diplomatic agreements, and military coordinates vanished, or so it seemed to the panicking aliens. In reality, every bit of data had been copied to human servers, analyzed, and carefully filtered for evidence of conspiracy and corruption. Send the message, Admiral Nakamura ordered. Throughout the station, every display, every hologram, every communication device activated simultaneously. The message was simple, delivered in every known galactic language. We know what you've done. We know what you're planning. Size is not strength. Power is not progress. The age of giants is over. The Valorian response was predictable. Rage, denial, and finally, threats. Their massive warships converged on the station, ready to lock it down and investigate this unprecedented breach of security. That's when Phase 3 truly began. Every ship that approached the station found their systems compromised. Navigation computers failed. Weapon systems went offline. Life support systems reported critical failures that didn't exist, forcing evacuations and panic. In the human sector, Farida's team worked with cold efficiency, using their quantum infiltrators to demonstrate just how vulnerable the giants had become. They're requesting a direct meeting, Raj reported. The Valorian High Commander himself wants to speak with our leadership. Admiral Nakamura straightened her uniform. Patch him through to my office. She paused. My human-sized office. The hologram that appeared filled half the room. A Valorian High Commander forced to shrink his projection to fit in a tiny human space. His crystalline face showed barely contained fury. This is an act of war, he began. No, Nakamura cut him off. This is a demonstration. We have copies of every file, every communication, every secret agreement your people made to suppress emerging species. We can shut down your entire civilization with a thought. But unlike you, we're not interested in domination. She let that sink in before continuing. We want equality. Real equality, not your patronizing tolerance. And we have proof that we're not the only species you've tried to keep down. The High Commander's crystalline form flickered with multiple colors, the Valorian equivalent of extreme agitation. You destabilized the entire galactic order. The order you built on lies and suppression. Yes, we would, unless you're willing to negotiate, as equals this time. The next 12 hours saw frantic diplomatic activity. The Valorian leadership, faced with irrefutable evidence of their conspiracy and demonstrations of human technological superiority, began to understand their position. They had dismissed humans as insignificant because of their size, never realizing that humanity's greatest strength was its ability to turn perceived weaknesses into advantages. Now they faced a choice: adapt to a new reality or risk losing everything they had built. As negotiations continued, Admiral Nakamura received a secure transmission from Earth. The quantum compression technology was ready for full deployment. If diplomacy failed, humanity was prepared to meet the giants on their own terms, not just with matching size, but with superior technology, strategy, and determination. The giants had built their civilization on the assumption that bigger meant better. Humanity was about to prove just how wrong they had been. The tables turn. Proxima Station hung in space like a jewel, its massive form dwarfing the approaching Valorian battle fleet. What the Valorians didn't know was that this human construction project, supposedly a quaint attempt to build their own trading post, was actually humanity's masterpiece of deception. Valorian fleet holding at designated coordinates, Lieutenant Colonel Raj reported from his station in the station's quantum-shielded command center. Their commander is expressing displeasure at being asked to wait. Admiral Nakamura nodded, watching the massive crystalline ships through the command center's panoramic displays. Let them wait. They've made us small enough wait for centuries. The past month had been chaos in the galactic community. Despite the evidence of conspiracy revealed at the Nexus, hardliners in the Valorian military had refused to accept a change in the status quo. They had declared the human sector a destabilizing influence and launched what they called a protective intervention. What they didn't expect was to find their fleet facing a human battle station larger than anything they had ever built. Quantum compression field stable, Dr. Tanaka reported from his engineering station. We can shift size at will. That was humanity's true achievement. Proxima Station wasn't just big. It could change its size instantly, adapting to any tactical situation. More importantly, it represented everything humanity had accomplished while playing the role of the galaxy's pets. They're demanding to know how we built this without their knowledge, Raj said, a hint of satisfaction in his voice. Tell them the truth, Nakamura ordered. Tell them we built it right in front of them, at normal human scale. They just never bothered to look closely enough. The station had indeed been constructed as a normal human facility. But thanks to the quantum compression technology, what had appeared to be a modest trading post could now expand to dwarf even the largest Valorian vessels. Multiple weapon systems powering up in the Valorian fleet, Farida Hassan announced from her intelligence station. They're not taking this well. Execute Phase 4, Nakamura commanded. Throughout the Valorian fleet, ships suddenly lost power. Emergency systems activated, then failed. Communication channels filled with static. The mighty armada found itself helpless, drifting in space. Our quantum infiltrators have complete control of their systems, Farida confirmed. They never thought to protect against invasive technology at the microscopic scale. That had been humanity's greatest advantage. While the giants of the galaxy built ever larger systems, humans had perfected the art of the infinitesimal. Quantum computers smaller than dust motes had infiltrated every major system in the galactic community. Their backup systems are activating, Raj reported. Restoration of power in 3 minutes. Nakamura stood. Time for the demonstration then. Dr. Tanaka, initiate the sequence. Proxima Station began to change. It shrank to human size, then expanded again, larger than before. The process repeated, showing complete mastery over spatial dimensions. The station danced through size ranges that the Valorians had thought impossible to achieve. Send the message, Nakamura ordered. On every ship in the Valorian fleet, displays activated showing Admiral Nakamura. At their scale, the quantum compression technology allowed her to address them as an equal size for size. For too long, you've judged species by their size, she began. You've dismissed us as insignificant because we were small. But size isn't strength. True power lies in adaptation, in innovation, in the ability to change. She gestured, and holographic displays showed human achievements. Microscopic quantum computers that outperformed Valorian mainframes, compression technology that defied their understanding of physics, stealth systems that operated at scales they couldn't detect. "We could have used this technology for revenge," she continued. "We could have infiltrated your worlds, sabotaged your civilization, brought your empire crashing down from within. Instead, we choose to offer you a choice." The Valorian ship's systems came back online, a deliberate release by human controllers. "Join us in building a new galactic order," Nakamura proposed. "One where size doesn't determine worth, where innovation is valued over intimidation, where every species, large or small, has an equal voice." A tense hour passed as the Valorian command debated. Finally, their high commander responded, his image sized to match Nakamura's, a subtle but significant acknowledgement. "You could have destroyed us," he admitted. "Why didn't you?" "Because domination isn't our goal," Nakamura replied. "We've seen where that leads. We're offering you partnership instead of submission, equal standing instead of superiority." The revolution that followed wasn't won through battle, but through demonstration. As news spread through the galaxy, other species came forward. Races that had been dismissed, relegated to tiny corners of space, their potential stifled by the giants who ruled the stars. Proxima Station became a symbol of the new order. Its ability to shift between size ranges made it the perfect neutral ground for interspecies diplomacy. In its halls, beings of all sizes could meet as equals, their physical dimensions no longer a barrier to communication or respect. The age of giants was indeed over, but what replaced it wasn't an age of the small. Instead, a new understanding emerged. That true greatness had nothing to do with physical size at all. A new order. 10 years after the Proxima Station confrontation, the Galactic Assembly Chamber presented a sight that would have been unthinkable a decade ago. Representatives of every spacefaring species gathered in a room where quantum compression fields allowed all attendees to interact at whatever size they found comfortable. Admiral Nakamura, now serving as Earth's representative to the Galactic Council, watched as a Valorian diplomat engaged in animated discussion with a representative from the newly discovered Micronians, a species even smaller than humans. The Valorian's crystalline form had been compressed to stand eye to eye with his conversation partner, a practice that had become standard diplomatic protocol. "Remarkable how quickly things can change," Isabella Reyes commented, joining Nakamura at the observation deck. Now serving as the head of the Interspecies Cultural Exchange Program, she had been instrumental in helping various species overcome centuries of size-based prejudice. "Not quickly enough for some," Nakamura replied, thinking of the challenges they still faced. "But the Progress Index is promising." The Progress Index, a comprehensive measure of technological and social advancement, had shown unprecedented growth since the integration of different species' technologies and perspectives. Humanity's quantum compression technology had been just the beginning. The Valorians, once they moved past their initial resistance, had proven invaluable partners in advancing spatial manipulation technology. Their crystalline computing systems, combined with human miniaturization expertise, had led to breakthroughs in quantum processing that benefited all species. "The latest survey results are in," Farida Hassan announced, approaching with a holographic display. Her intelligence division had transformed into the Galactic Information Exchange, promoting transparency and cooperation rather than surveillance. 93% of member species report improved quality of life under the new protocols. The protocols she referred to were the Equal Species Accord, a comprehensive set of laws and guidelines that explicitly prohibited discrimination based on physical size or form. But more than just laws had changed. Attitudes had transformed. In the center of the chamber, Dr. Tanaka was presenting the latest breakthrough, a fusion of human quantum compression technology and Valorian crystal computing. The result was a system that could manipulate not just size, but the fundamental properties of space-time itself. "We stand at the threshold of a new era," he explained to the assembled representatives. "By combining our different perspectives and technologies, we've achieved what none of us could have done alone." The presentation was interrupted by an urgent announcement. Long-range sensors had detected signals from the Andromeda galaxy, signs of intelligent life far beyond their previous reach. The chamber erupted in excited discussion. 10 years ago, they would have immediately classified species by size. Raj observed, now serving as the commander of the Joint Exploration Fleet. Now they're discussing capabilities, potential contributions, opportunities for mutual growth. This was perhaps humanity's greatest victory, not the technology they'd developed or the political power they'd gained, but the fundamental shift in how the galaxy's species viewed each other. The Galactic University, established in the transformed remains of the old trade nexus, had become a symbol of this new approach. There, beings of all sizes studied together, sharing knowledge and perspectives that had previously been limited by physical barriers. Young Valorians learned the value of miniaturization and efficiency from human instructors, while human students gained new appreciation for the advantages of larger-scale operations from their giant counterparts. "We've received the preliminary data from the Crucible project," a young scientist announced, a former student of Dr. Tanaka who had gone on to lead her own research team. The project, combining technologies and insights from 12 different species, was attempting to unlock the fundamental secrets of dimensional manipulation. "The results confirm our theory," she continued excitedly. "Size itself is merely a construct, a limiting parameter we can transcend. The universe doesn't care how big or small we are. It responds to understanding, to innovation, to cooperation." Admiral Nakamura smiled, remembering the days when humans had been dismissed as cute curiosities. Now they were known as the species that had taught the galaxy its most important lesson, that true greatness came not from physical dimensions, but from the size of one's ideas, the scope of one's vision, and the strength of one's principles. In the station's memorial hall, a simple plaque had become a popular attraction for visitors from all species. It bore a quote from an ancient human philosopher, now translated into every known language. "The measure of intelligence is the ability to change." As the assembly discussed the possibilities of contact with Andromeda, Nakamura reflected on humanity's journey. They had turned their greatest perceived weakness into their greatest strength, not through force or dominance, but by proving that diversity, in all its forms, was the true key to advancement. The giants had fallen, not from violence or revenge, but from the weight of their own prejudices. In their place had risen something far greater, a civilization where size was no longer destiny, where being small didn't mean being powerless, and where the combined potential of all species reached toward infinity. As she watched representatives of once hostile species working together, planning joint missions to Andromeda, Nakamura realized that humanity's greatest achievement hadn't been teaching the galaxy that size didn't matter. It had been showing them that everything, perspectives, prejudices, even the laws of physics themselves, could change when minds were open and willing to grow. The age of giants was over. The age of understanding had begun.